Watching the World Burn by Sage of Time. It was the day after Christmas and my family had just left my house. I saw the plastic cups and paper plates lying around and decided to do some cleaning. After getting rid of the trash, I started vacuuming up all the crumbs that had fallen on the floor. Once I had vacuumed around the coffee table, I noticed some dirt leading under the couch. When I lifted up the couch skirt, I found something that surprised me. I pulled it out, and sure enough, it was a Pokémon Emerald cartridge. My cousins must have left it behind, I said to myself. After all, they are big Pokémon fans. Once I finished cleaning up, I went upstairs, inserted my cartridge into my old Game Boy Advance SP, and began to play. I had never played Pokémon before, so I was excited to see why my little cousins liked it so much. After the amazing opening animation and title screen, I pressed start and began a new game. I chose Torchic as my starter, and I was off on a new adventure. After going through all the tutorial stuff, I headed for Petalburg City. Once I had arrived, I went to the Pokémon Center and healed my Pokémon. I saw there was a gym and excitedly went inside. I walked over and talked to the man there, Norman, who apparently was supposed to be my father. He then told me to help a kid named Wally catch a Pokémon. After I returned, he told me to collect 4 gym badges, then I could challenge him. I started to walk towards the door, but a text box stopped me once I was halfway there. "Oh, and Kyle," Norman said, "don't talk to strangers." Once the text box disappeared, I walked out of the gym. Since I had never played this game before, I thought nothing of this event. I thought it was just good old fatherly advice, not to talk to strangers and to stay safe. Anyway, I entered the next town and completely disregarded his advice and started talking to everyone. After I talked to everyone in town, I decided to take on the gym, hoping I would actually get to battle. I beat the gym leader Roxanne and claimed the badge. Then I went to the nearby routes to catch some new Pokémon. I caught an Incada and a Tailo in Route 116, then went over to Route 115. I walked down to the nearby beach, and standing there was a person I had never seen before. Naturally, I went up and talked to him. "I see you've defeated Roxanne," he said once I pressed A next to him. "Well, don't think you'll defeat me as easily." Immediately after he said this, the battle animation started. "Trainer ? Would like to battle," a text box said. He sent out a Vulpix and I sent out my little Torchic, whom I had named Phoenix. After a few embers and scratches, his Vulpix went down. Then he sent out Numble. "Ah, so he's a fire-type trainer," I said to myself when he sent out the dinosaur-like Pokémon. It took a little longer to defeat the Vulpix because it was at a higher level, but eventually it went down, but not before taking out Phoenix. His battle sprite scrolled in from the side and the text box appeared, Ellipsis. Kyle gained 400 yen for winning the battle. After I returned to the overworld, yet another text box appeared. "I see you're much stronger than I expected you would be. No matter, you won't be able to halt what I have put into motion." Then he began to walk away, but before he went off screen, he stopped and said, "And it's all thanks to you." I thought this whole experience was really cool. "Well, a new antagonist," I said to myself. "I wonder what his purpose in the plot is." After this, I continued along in my journey. After gaining the Pokénav and being told to deliver the Devon goods, I had the old man and Pico, his Pokémon, give me a ride over to Dewfort Town. Once there, I could challenge the gym. After losing to the gym leader, Broly, once, I went over to the nearby cave, got the EHM, Flash, leveled up Phoenix, my newly caught Makuhita and Abra, and then re-challenged Broly. I beat him and claimed his badge, then he let me use Flash outside of battle. Now that I could use Flash, I went to the cave so I could deliver the Devon goods. When I went back to the cave, instead of the man who had given me the HM, there stood the trainer from before. "Hello there," he said. "I see you can tackle even through challenges, such as Brawly. Though, now that I have seen you battle, I know what to expect." The battle commenced. Trainer ? Would like to battle. The text box appeared once again. After that, he sent out a Slugma and I sent out my Makuhita. He used Ember. It was a critical hit and it got Makuhita's health down into the red zone. "What? Are you kidding me?" I yelled to the Game Boy. Makuhita was my strongest Pokémon besides Phoenix, due to all the training I had done, and he was almost out. Anyway, I fought a little while longer, but Makuhita fainted in the next turn. I then sent out Phoenix and got rid of his Slugma. Next, he sent out his Vulpix, and the same thing happened. A critical hit. Are you kidding me? I again yelled at the screen as I watched Phoenix's health deplete. Fire isn't even weak to fire. Once he had knocked out Phoenix, I sent out Tailo and finished off his Vulpix. After that, the text box appeared. Defeated trainer ? Finally, I said with a sigh of relief. However, my relief was short-lived, because then something happened that really shocked me. It seems your Pokémon are growing rapidly. I thought I could beat you with how well my Pokémon were doing, he said. I almost thought he knew about the critical hits, he continued. I don't care, though. Once my Pokémon become powerful enough, you won't stand a chance. Oh yeah? Bring it on, I said as if he could hear me. And then he said one more thing before leaving the cave. Are you ready to watch the world burn? Watch the world burn, I repeated after reading this. Does my aunt know about that phrase? If she did, though, it was kind of dark for how old her kids are. I delivered the Devon goods to the man at the end of the cave. However, something else weird happened after that. Right after the text box said, Kyle handed over the Devon goods, another text box appeared. Thank you very much. It appeared to be the man talking. Now I need to hurry to get this to... The man stopped. Oh, it's nothing you need to be concerned about. Just go and continue whatever you were doing before you deliver this. Then he walked off. I went back into town and told the old man I wanted to go to Slateport City, and off we went on his little ferry. After I had finished things around the city, I challenged the Mauville City Gym. The old electric-type gym leader was a tough challenge, but eventually I beat him. Once I had set foot outside of the gym, trainer ? Who from now on, to avoid redundancy I will call him Flame, came up to me and said basically what he always says, and the battle began. I took down his fire types with the Gyarados that I had evolved from my Magikarp. Then the battle ended, and we appeared back in the overworld. Well, 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 he said. You truly are much too powerful for me. However, my plan is almost complete, so there is no chance that you can stop me. So I ask you again, are you ready to watch the world burn? And with that, he walked away. To tell you the truth, I was excited at this point. I would finally get to see what his role in the story was. Though, right now I had to train and level up my party a little bit more. To make a long story short, I did all the mandatory things and made it to the next gym. A fire-type gym, I thought to myself. Wonder who the gym leader is. I said, thinking it would be Flame. However, when I got to the gym leader, I was suppressed to find it wasn't him. Anyway, I beat the fire-type gym leader and got her badge. After she gave it to me, she said, Congratulations, don't get a big head though. Also, she paused, be careful out there, something seems off. Then I left. Finally, I had gotten all the badges I needed to challenge my father back in Petalburg. I was surprised that Flame never showed up when I had beaten the last gym, but oh well. Now, with no further interruptions, it was time to challenge my father and win. Once I entered the gym, I proudly walked up to him and pressed A. Hello there, son, he said. I see that you've collected 4 gym badges. Now you're strong enough to... Suddenly he stopped. A text box appeared. Boom, it said. What just happened? Norman said as the picture on screen started to shake. He ran outside and I followed. When I was outside, I walked around and the whole town was on fire. What the heck is going on? I said to myself as I watched the fires on my little Game Boy. This isn't right. Why is the town burning? The moment I said this, I realized what had happened. Burning, I said again. I immediately walked up to one of the NPCs that was nearby. Oh no, my house, the NPC said, looking at one of the burning buildings. Young man, help me, please. I wished I could have helped, but there just wasn't anything I could do. Norman walked up to me and said, Some of the people around town told me that it looked like a fireball coming from the east and it landed right on top of the Pokemart. They also said, judging by the looks of it, it came from Dewford. I wanted to head for Dewford right after hearing this, but the conversation went on. Kyle, head over to Dewford and ask Brawley what's going on. I'll stay here and try and put out the fires. I began running towards the old sailor's house. When I arrived, I found him sitting at his table. I walked up to him and pressed A, and he said, Let me guess, you want to head down to Dewford? Well, obviously yes, I said annoyed, even though I knew he couldn't hear me. Alright, but I can only drop you off. I don't want to stay anywhere near that place. We arrived and I saw that Dew Fort was on fire as well. I ran to the gym and went inside. I walked over to Broly and talked to him. Kyle, what are you doing here? You need to get away from this place. I was growing tired of these conversations. I just wanted to get to the point. Some of the trainers and I are going to take down that monster in the cave north of town. You want to come with us? Are you sure? Okay, but if something goes wrong, just be careful. I lost control of my trainer and the game automatically made me follow Broly and the other trainers to the cave. Once we were inside, Broly turned and addressed the crowd. Alright everybody, let's take this guy down, he said. Search the cave, and the moment you spot him, call me on your Pokénav. I started to explore the cave to find my way to him. I wandered around the many sections of the cave, but surprisingly, I didn't run into any wild Pokémon. I kept wandering until I finally ended up where I'd given the Devon goods to that guy, and there he was, Flame. He was standing in front of some weird-looking machine. I took one step closer, but he stopped me. Oh, it's you, he said. So you're here to stop me. Well, it's too late. My plan is almost complete. Do you want to see what this machine does? I wasn't sure if I wanted to. I tried to open the start menu so I could call Broly on my Pokénav, but whenever I pressed start, it just gave me the dunk sound that plays whenever you can't do something or run into a wall. He turned around and did what sounded like pressing buttons. After he finished, a giant fireball was shot from the top of the machine. You see, he began to speak again. When you gave the Devon goods to that man, he didn't protect them very well. He crumbled with one hit of Slugma's ember. The reason he had them was to keep them from me. Then why did I give them to him? I said before pressing A to have him continue. With that fireball, my masterpiece is complete. Would you like to see it? Why would I want that? I'm sure you'll just find it fascinating. Then, one final time he said, So, are you ready to watch the world burn? After this, he held a Pokeball up in the air and brought out a Pokemon that obviously could use Fly, and flew away with me. First we flew to Little Root, where my trainer's house was. Everything was on fire. Do you love what I've done with the place? He asked while leading me around town to watch the burning trees and buildings. I wanted to go into my house to see if my mom was alright, but I didn't have control of my trainer. Next he flew up to Rustboro, then Moville, and then all of the other towns in Hoenn. All of them were on fire. We finally ended up back at the place where we had started. Well, there you have it, my masterpiece. I hope you enjoyed my little tour, he said. No, I answered. I wish I could show you how magnificent the other regions look, but for now, I best be going. You know, so much to do, so little time. I have other worlds to work on, and I wouldn't really fancy burning with this one. So farewell and good luck, you're going to need it. After this text box closed, he took out his Pokeball and flew away. Just then, Norman walked through the door of the cave. Well, I guess it's all over, he said. The fire is spreading from the cities to the forests. We have to take refuge in the mountains, but eventually the food will run out. I didn't understand what was happening. This obviously wasn't the real game, but if it wasn't the real game, what was it? I pressed A as a tear ran down my cheek. Which, at the time, I found strange considering no video game had ever made me cry before. Maybe it was the fact I couldn't save this world, even if it was virtual. I don't know. Anyway, he continued speaking. This is the end. I've gotten word from the other gym leaders they're evacuating the townspeople. The Elite Four are nowhere to be found. You just had to talk to strangers. I was offended by this. He was blaming me as if the reason this plan unfolded was because I talked to that guy. Wouldn't he have attacked the place even if I didn't talk to him? It was then that it hit me. Code can't do anything unless the player triggers it one way or another. Then I remembered the Flame said that I had beaten him the first time. And it's all thanks to you. Then I realized I couldn't save the world no matter what. There was no hope. At this point, being the emotional person I am, I began to cry harder. I took the cartridge out of my Game Boy, threw it at the wall, and threw my Game Boy onto the floor. I laid my head on my pillow and cried myself to sleep. After I woke up, I looked down at my Game Boy and saw that the screen had cracked. When I picked up the cartridge, the exterior just had a piece missing. I threw the cartridge into a drawer out of pure disgust for what I went through. I hadn't thought about it until yesterday when watching my cousins whilst their parents were out. I had told them to find something to entertain themselves with while I did some work. They came back to me holding the little green cartridge and said, "You have Pokemon Emerald? Can we play it? We've always wanted to play Emerald but never have." "Sure," I answered, not paying attention. I continued working until I thought to myself, wait, they've never played Emerald. Then how did that... I went into the room they were in and asked how the game was nervously. I was afraid that it might scare them. However, I was relieved to find out that it wouldn't fit into the Game Boy because it was broken. "Oh, that's too bad," I said. "Why don't we find something else to do?" I put the Game Boy on the table and led them outside. After a few hours had passed, it was time for them to leave. I walked over to the table where the Game Boy was, took the cartridge out, and threw it in the trash. Even though my first experience with Pokemon was bad, I'm willing to give it another shot considering the other games are probably not like that one. I've decided that tomorrow I'm going to go to GameStop and get Pokemon Pearl. Is it good? That was Watching the World Burn. Final thoughts? This story is really boring. The only thing that it has going for it is that it gets kind of funny near the end, but that's just because of how stupid things happen. The majority of the story is just boring. And that's the worst thing a story really can be. If it's creepy, it leaves a lasting impact. If it's so bad it's funny, at least you gotta laugh. If it's boring, it's just forgettable and lame. I'm just gonna read out the bullet points I took down while reading this story. He said he had never played Pokemon, so he didn't know that Norman telling him not to talk to strangers was odd. Well, if he never played it before and he didn't know it was odd, why would he have brought it up? This story really wastes your time. It spends entire paragraphs just explaining things that normally happens in the game. You don't need to do that, it's just filler. He could have just skipped ahead till the next point that was interesting, where something actually occurs. The character keeps talking to his Game Boy, and it's stupid. In fact, absolutely nothing he says to the Game Boy matters. I don't know why that wasn't just removed from the story. This story just seems like a lame fan-made mod for Pokemon. The story just said that code has to be triggered by the player. That's just flat out wrong. I think that the protagonist of the story is mentally unstable at this point. He's throwing things and crying himself to sleep over the pretty tame plot of a Pokemon game that he never played previously and thus has no idea that these things weren't supposed to happen that way. Okay, what the fuck was that ending? If the story had any tension, it would have died with that ending. And that's it for my bullet points. I feel like that sums it all up. That's it for this creepypasta. Tune in again next Saturday when we tackle yet another story made and sent in by the fans with The Beast That Was Hidden, The Unknown That Discovered It. If you want to write your own story, help Pierre edit a story, or even just read the stories early, check out the description where you'll find a link to the Creepypasta section of my forum. You'll also find a link to the playlist of every Creepypasta reading I've done. If you're interested in keeping up on my blog posts, join the Facebook fan page linked below. Remember that if you want your story to be read on the show, you must stay active on your post on the forum, as well as read the forum rules. Thank you all for watching, and until next time, sweet dreams.